Being said, let's talk about it. The congressional candidate challenging Congresswoman Ilhan Omar for her seat in Minnesota, Dalia Al-Kidi, along with former Obama administration official Ashwani Jain. It's a pleasure to have you both on. Dalia, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about this funding for DHS. Start there. Senator Lindsey Graham says he's willing to reform. If you come talk to him, he says, he'll consider some things. At the same time, ICE still has to deport. That's what President Trump was elected to do. So you can't slow that down and stop it. So how do you compromise here with this?
Well, even the shutdown, if it was very short, it should not have ever happened. And what President Trump did was the responsible thing to do. We are open. Republicans are open for reforms. But the question is, are the members in our Congress are willing to listen to their people? People are sick and tired of political games. People families don't shut their lives because there is a fight on the budget. And sadly, people like Ilhan Omar, who's supposed to represent her district or represent her people, does not do the right job. This is our problem. If people cared about their constituents, like Ilhan Omar and others, we would not have these obstacles in Congress.
Ashwani, I want to get your thoughts on the Democrat side of this. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer laid out the Democrats' demands for ICE reform specifically. Here's what he said.
First, end roving patrols. Warrants. That's what America, when you arrest somebody, when you break into their house, you need a warrant. Why is ICE accepted from that? Masks need to come off. Cameras need to go on. Every officer needs to have ID. Simple, plain ID. It's common sense. If a small-town police officer in upstate New York needs to have identification, why doesn't a federal officer?
Ashwani, we also have already learned yesterday from House Speaker Mike Johnson that roving patrols will be discussed with Tom Homan, and they will be modified. Also, that every ICE agent will be outfitted with body cameras, as Mr. Schumer requested. What do you make of those demands and potentially some compromise?
Well, I'm glad that Republicans are listening to these important demands. Look, the fight centers on how ICE is funded. We all want to reduce crime, but clearly ICE is not focused on that. In Minnesota, ICE has murdered 2 unarmed citizens just this past month. And across the country, ICE has detained nonviolent citizens and veterans at gunpoint with little oversight. And that's not just a liberal talking point. It's in the president's own data. The majority of those detained by ICE have no violent record. And yet, instead of focusing on community policing that actually builds that trust, this administration has doubled down on militarizing enforcement. Most voters do not want this, and that's what Democrats are pushing for.
Ashwani, I got to double up with you here on that. What about all the criminal illegal aliens they have arrested that have been charged with homicide, with rape, with being affiliated with gangs, with burglaries? I mean, the list is on and on. You can go on DHS's website and see that. So to say they're not fighting crime, I don't think that's the case.
Well, if you look at that DHS data, it does show again that most of those detained have no violent records. Those are civil violations.
Those numbers, where'd you get them from?
Yeah.
You're saying that comes from DHS?
DHS's own data. Look, funding the government does not mean suspending oversight or sweeping abuses under the rug.
Is that DHS data from the DHS website you've seen yourself, or was from that another outlet reporting to say they got it from DHS? I know there's been a lot of convolution about this.
Own website, own data, and the fact that if you give ICE more money, you are choosing to ignore a federal agency that has repeatedly violated due process, trampled civil rights, and deregulated and discredited local authority. That's not how you make communities safer.
I just want to jump in there, Ashwani. I mean, we can kind of argue over the numbers, but basically from what I'm seeing here, roughly 50 to 55% of individuals detained by ICE have criminal convictions or pending criminal charges in the U.S.
But not violent records, as is being talked about. From
But if
this
they're here
administration. They have no
illegally and they
violent
are
criminal
criminals,
records.
then they have already committed a crime. Anyway, let's not go deep there. Dahlia, I want to get your thoughts on something, though, because Ashwani is saying that there should be no more funding for ICE. However, all of the funding for ICE specifically was already sort of front-loaded in the big, beautiful bill. So if any money is taken away from the Department of Homeland Security at this point, it gets taken away from other agencies, other national security agencies, like FEMA, for example. So no matter what sort of political theater the Democrats are engaging in at this point, it's not fundamentally going to affect the money already benchmarked for ICE.
Because it's all a political stunt. And let me tell you, I live in Minneapolis and I am an immigrant and I'm not scared to go out because I came legally to the United States. I go by my day, I go shopping, I go to the groceries. But that's the thing. Our problem here in Minneapolis and in Minnesota in general, that the fear mongering, the rhetoric of our local government is pushing this narrative. But guess what? People are waking up. Last night, I was out after caucus. I was standing with my friends, and just a car came by, and the texts were, ICE is in this area, ICE is in the North Loop. Well, these were normal people, normal drivers picking up a group. So our issue,
Real quick here. Is this argument about I think really what it's about is just getting out criminal illegal aliens. On one side, clearly fighting for them to stay. In the other side, which was President Trump giving the mandate saying, yeah, these people have to be deported. And I think that's really where we're living right now.
Because these calls equal votes. That's the issue. A reform, immigration reform for Democrats means only one thing: open borders, and that's when they get their votes.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Great discussion from both of you, Ashwani, Dahlia. Thank you.
Thank you so much.